How do we transition from bad money habits to good money habits? This week, I'm rambling about the actual practicality behind going from either having no financial system in place or bad financial system in place to actually implementing some sort of good financial system. Because a lot of these things, they start off with assuming we're starting from scratch, starting from zero, and that's not always the case. A lot of times we're starting from something really worse than zero, and it's hard to go from what you're doing to what you know is a better thing. Not just talking about the mindset of it, but just practically speaking, how do we do this? Like, what are the steps to actually make it happen? And I'm going to kind of flesh this out as I record this video, because to be honest with you, I don't know 100% what that right answer is. Maybe we'll find it together as I speak into the void. First off, the reason that this is top of mind for me is because I just got the book Money Habit by Mike Michalowicz. It's his latest book. This is the guy who wrote Profit First. This is basically profit first for your personal finances. So far, I'm really liking it. It seems like a really balanced approach. I'm going to do a whole video on the whole thing, going deep into the process of it once I finish with it and kind of get to digest it, but just know that that is coming. Also, check out this Lego set that I got. It's the little piranha plant from Mario, and it's actually a little bank, so you could put the little Mario coins in it. Anyway, sorry, that's my latest obsession. That was a birthday gift from my wife, Jessica, who knows just how nerdy I am. So, okay, what's got me thinking about this? I'm thinking about all this financial stuff and how to transition to a good financial system, because a lot of these financial systems or budgeting systems or whatever you want to call them, programs, whatever, whether it's Dave Ramsey, Mike Michalowicz, Susie Orman, or anyone else, they usually assume that you're not using a credit card for your day-to-day spending. They always talk about like setting up bank accounts and using those debit cards or using an envelope system. And that's fine and that's good. But here's the issue. If you've been putting your day-to-day expenses, your groceries, your gas, your subscriptions like Netflix and all that stuff on a credit card, it's going to be really, really hard to stop doing that. And not just mentally, there is a mental component to it, but think about it practically. If your credit card statement, a lot of them are like mid-month statements for some reason, but let's say it runs from the 16th of the month to the 15th of the following month. If you swipe that credit card on January 16th, then that January 16th charge is going to show up on your February 15th statement, the one that covers January 16th through February 15th. And a lot of times, depending on the bank, that statement is not going to be due until the following month, maybe even March 15th. So even if you're paying your credit card in full every single month, you're paying the statement balance in full. And it might be almost 60 days from the time that card was swiped for those earliest transactions to the time you're actually paying it. So that means on January 15th, you used the cash you had to pay your credit card balance that was the statement of December 15th that included November transactions. And on January 16th, you're swiping the card for things that won't be paid until maybe March 15th. So how do you go from having just paid off your credit card and having current things on your credit card that you're going to have to pay in the next month or two and start covering your expenses with the money that you have in the bank? It's going to be really difficult if you don't have some sort of buffer in place. So then how do we go, if I want to stop using a credit card, from using that credit card for daily purchases to actually using the cash that we have, if the cash that I have now is going to be going to paying the credit card with the balance that I paid for things on the previous month? Let's figure it out together. Here's what I'm thinking. Right now, as I'm recording this video, we're just getting into tax season. It's my busiest time of year. It's also the best time of year for us financially. We take the money from tax season and we try and spread it out across the rest of the year to make things even. But this might be a good opportunity for us to use some of the extra money that we have from tax season and use it to kind of get ahead without having to use credit cards so that we're fine. The issue with doing this is it always is going to catch up on the back end. We've basically moved the use of cash up 30 days, maybe even 60 days. So we're going to have to account for that on the other side of things. The other option, I guess, would be to cut expenses enough so that we don't really feel that much of a pain. What if for a few weeks or a month, we decide not to go eat out, or we decide not to spend as much on just like discretionary spending, or we choose to use everything we have in the pantry and try not to do any groceries or anything like that? It's a possibility, but we also have 5 kids, and with 5 kids in the house, all being homeschooled and everyone home all the time, that's not always an option. And I guess the third strategy we could do is doing things gradually. Maybe it doesn't all happen in one month. Maybe you don't do the whole Dave Ramsey, take out the scissors and cut up the credit card and never use it again. Maybe instead it's, okay, this month we're going to actually not put, I don't know, let's say gas on the credit card. We're going to try to pay for gas with a debit card, with money we have in the bank, knowing that the money that we have in the bank is also going to be going to pay the gas purchases that were put on the credit card before. So as I'm saying it, maybe it's a combination. Maybe it is using some of the excess money that we have right now. And we're just fortunate that we're in a season while I'm implementing this, that we have some excess. So maybe I would say don't do something like this in the worst month of the year. So combination of that, along with seeing if there's anything that we could cut for just 30 days, even if it's maybe like, hey, we know we're going to be traveling or something, or we know we're going to be busy. So no Netflix this month and no Disney Plus this month. And we're going to try not to eat out and we're going to use some of what we have in the groceries and see just for a month how much money we can stock aside so that when we make that next credit card payment, to see how much money we have left over on top of that, and use that to figure out how much we can actually stop using on the credit card for the following month to actually pay cash as we go and get ahead on it. So just to be clear, we are not carrying a balance on the credit card. We do get it paid off every single month. It's just that we're very consistent with how much we put on the credit card. It's just the timing of all this. Like, how do you actually stop using the credit card when you're 60 days out? Now, there could be people who they are actually carrying a balance on their credit card and also putting new stuff on their credit card. I feel like if you're doing that, it's a dual approach. Like, you got to be able to tackle the previous balance and be able to start handling the current balance. And I think if you're doing that, then like three-prong approach is going to be necessary. You've got to find extra income from somewhere to start putting aside to cover your current spending. And you're going to have to cut expenses wherever possible to reduce how much you're putting on the credit card and gradually get out of using it. It's not going to happen all at once. I just don't see it happening if you're putting all your expenses on a credit card all the time. There's something that Mike talks about in this book, which I really like, and it's the order that you have to tackle your finances. We have to become currently profitable. We have to take care of things currently. If we're living beyond our means now, then that has to be taken care of first. Like, you've got to cut your expenses or find other income to be able to live within your means, to stop putting additional things on credit cards that you're carrying a balance on. Like, that's got to be step one. Step two, you have to worry about your past decisions. So then you start tackling the debt and the balance that you might be carrying on the credit card or any kind of other personal debt that you might be paying high interest on. You got to cover that next. And only once you know that you have all your current stuff covered and everything in the past is covered, then you can start worrying about setting yourself up for future success by putting money aside for retirement and those kinds of things. If you split things too thin, then you're not going to make enough progress on any of them to actually make progress at all. So like, if you're paying an exorbitant amount of credit card interest on past stuff, then it's going to be really hard for you to also set aside money for the future. You'd be better off just paying the credit cards off. But you can't even pay the credit cards off if you're currently spending more than you're making in your day-to-day budget. So if you have gone from maybe one money habit to another, and specifically around putting your day-to-day expenses on a credit card or anything else that maybe you switched from one thing to another, and the way that you did it was helpful or the way that you did it didn't work, I'm curious to know what those are. Put those in the comments if you don't mind, if you're willing to share it, because I want to know if other people have dealt with this. Like, is this a problem that is just not being addressed in books like these, where it talks about, like, put money in bank accounts for particular purposes, for wants and needs and emergency fund and all that stuff, and just live off of the bank account. Well, if I take the money that we have coming in next and put it in those bank accounts, I still have to pay the expenses from a couple of months ago, in addition to now the new expenses. And I don't have double the money coming in necessarily. So anyway, curious to know if this is helpful, if you're dealing with the same thing, and if the ideas that I had for like using excess whenever you have excess, cutting expenses and doing things gradually, if that's helpful at all, or if that's something that you've tried. And I will see you next time.